Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And as a lot of you know, every other week I was part of the Action for Assange vigil as a guest for some time. And what I'd like to do is double stream that. And it's been a little while. I'll be honest with you. Number one, obviously, I've been busy in my own life. I've been covering the COVID 1984 topic a lot, and a lot's happened. Let's be real. My channel has now been fully demonetized. Um, Assange himself is in a chaotic situation where, you know, the justice system in this country has let out pedophiles like Takashi 69, right? And I've done stories where other child rapists were let out. We've seen across the country similar things. We saw the photographer who had all those CP images of Jean-Benet Ramsey being let out. A lot of frightening things happening right before our eyes, right, guys? And that's a reality. So while all these real criminals will be let out, somebody like Julian Assange, who's a political prisoner, especially in this COVID 1984 environment, they're going to keep him in there and they're going to hope the worst happens to him because we don't know where all this goes from here, guys. So I do want to remind everybody that I'm fully demonetized. So I never used to start out videos saying, hey, I've got this GoFundMe. It used to be at the end, kind of if you followed me through it for the hardcores. But I do need your support now more than ever because they just took a big chunk of change away from me for telling the truth. And I can't wait to regroup with Christy, Taylor, Andrew, and Steve. I'm hoping it's that four and maybe some others, but I can't guarantee anything. Now, I would like to mention this before we get going with those guys, because number one, you can follow them at actionforassange.com, the number 4. I should bring that up right now as well, okay? Because although their website is dated, their work is far from dated, and they are doing amazing work. So if you want to check them out there, you can also follow them on Twitter. But I want to talk about the intelligence report warned of coronavirus crisis as early as November, and these are sources. Well, let me explain to you how this works, because I've been telling you this from the beginning. There is going to be a paper trail of people that warned about this, and then other, again, bureaucrats, people you and I did not elect, whether they be military or intelligence, that did not give it the severity or sincerity it should have been. And the people directly in the president's ear definitely did not do so. Okay? Because let's be honest, this is a bad look all around. And who did some of these people do it on the behest of? The predator class, the one that goes outside nation states. So as I've been trying to assert to people, to think that intelligence networks were not aware of all these situations as soon as it really started in China. Okay, to say that those people weren't aware of how China was actually dealing with their populace of 1.2 billion, just like the World Health Organization, the CDC, all of them, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Johns Hopkins, they applauded the authoritarianism because that's who they are. All right, I want to make that very clear. Not a left or right issue. And by the way, thumbs this video up. Subscribe if you're new to the Burmis Brigade because we are being censored more than ever. Entire channel demonetized. And if we're going to speak up for free speech, now's the time. So, this is kind of in the news right now, but I'm telling you, just like 9/11 and the precursors, there is going to be a massive paper trail of warnings by certain individuals about this. You may even find that in some of these documents, them suggesting that it is actually biological warfare. Did I say that out loud? Am I allowed to say it? And that's another huge issue that we're going to have to deal with because, look, me and David Icke, we have a different view of this issue. At least we have a same view of everything it's being used for. And we have the same view that the lockdown is not the answer. But there are other things that we would differ upon. He should have the right to say whatever. And for for this now to be taken, down pretty much across the board, to have 40 plus complaints, to have an investigation because London Real had David Icke on their program and talked about this in a manner that maybe Tony Fauci doesn't want you to hear. Well, I'm sorry. That's just simply unacceptable. So I believe we've got, nope, we still don't have the message from the gang. Let's see. I'll hit them up. Let's see. Maybe there's a link at the bottom here, guys, that I'm missing. I'm going to hit Andrew up right here. But thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. And, guys, we're going to get into it big time on, this whole COVID-1984 situation. That's what we're in, right? I don't know how else to say it. I mean, how is everybody feeling at this moment? I don't like being at the behest of authoritarianism. I don't like being told what to do. I don't like how every solution I've seen pushed is based in what? A vaccination. Now, I guess while I wait on this, I got a little story to tell because I think this one's interesting. All right, as some of you may have noticed, I mentioned that my cousin who lives downstate, Dutchess County, she was not feeling well, and she had to try several times to get a COVID-19 test. All right, now eventually she got that test. It came back negative, and they said she had pneumonia. Now, for a time, she isolated herself from her husband and her child and the whole nine. Now, normally, right now, to get a test, it's still difficult. You have to ask for it, right? She was contacted by, I believe it was the, Anthony Wayne. Yes, Anthony Wayne Recreations Area, Bear Mountain, where they are doing tests and giving a, portable test. I think they're going to test her for the antibodies, to be honest with you. All right? I think they're going to test her for the antibodies. So that's a whole different thing. And remember, that's something Cuomo talked about. A lot of this is stealth. So, all right, guys, here we go. Let's get it ready. And we'll be in a moment. Bum, bum. Huh. Okay, so they haven't let me in yet. Okay. I should be all right when it comes in, though. They had all sorts of issues. So, again, guys, thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. We're with the Action for Assange network. Yes, this is indeed a slow rollout.
So it looks like Jason is now with us. So, of course, we have returning guest on with us, Jason Burmis. He has been really covering COVID-19, just doing a great job covering that crisis. And, of course, he is in New York, the hot spot for COVID-19. Before we get into the documents released by Reality Winner, Jason, I want you to just give us and our viewers a brief update, what's going on in your state, and just some of your thoughts on COVID-19 and where we're at this point in time. And thank you so much for coming on. And my power is out, so that's why it looks really strange. I have candles surrounding me.
Okay. And I'm sorry I have it like this. I forget how to get it out of this mode, and I've been doing Zoom chats with like 4 or 5 generations of my fraternity every Wednesday now. That's why I haven't been on the last couple vigils, because I've just needed some sanity to talk to my friends in this very weird time. What is going on right now? Well, first of all, I want to talk about Assange just quick, because in my state, they decided it was okay, for instance, to let out a serial pedophile like Tekashi 6ix9ine. That's okay. We'll do that. Several other child rapists, and yet somebody like Assange is behind bars. I don't think that's acceptable. I think that, unfortunately, with the crackdown on YouTube, the fact, I got demonetized fully on Monday. I was not the only one. This seems like a concerted effort, that the writing is on the wall, right? Like, even David Icke, who I totally and completely disagree with on some aspects of this issue, right? He now has 40 investigations going on because of what he said on London Real. I mean, is that real? Why are we wasting our time? Can the man not have an opinion? So it's just like, I think at this point, we're really beyond Orwell. They've got people locked into this mindset that a lockdown is the only way that this is going to go down. I think there are certain people that are fighting that aspect as much as possible, but we haven't seen anything yet. You know, all these people that are out there, film your hospital and people aren't dying, that is the biggest bunch of just utter horseshit. And it's dangerous because, you know, as I now have been reporting 2 days ago, Hart Island, by the way, is trending, but the National Guard is using, they're using Enterprise rent-a-cars to pick up dead bodies at houses. Guys, I want to make that very clear. The National Guard is picking up dead bodies in Enterprise rent-a-vans in my state, in Long Island, in Queens, in the Bronx. This is very fucking real. All right? My two nurse sources are people that I worked with for hundreds of hours side by side that worked very hard to get through nursing school as they bartended 20, 30 hours a week. They have no reason to lie to me. And they are telling me that they're no longer going to intubate people who are 80 years of age or older. We now know, again, Hart Island is finally trending, but the mass graves are real, okay? They would bury maybe 20, 25 people that didn't have a home somewhere here before. What's going on now is they are triple stacking bodies, and those are prisoners making $6 an hour in hazmat suits. I reported on this 2 days ago. It's just trending now on Twitter. So I want to make no qualms about it. We are in a very bizarre time, and I 100% believe at this point we've been attacked with a bioweapon. How deadly that bioweapon is, that's questionable, but how contagious it is and whether or not it will take you out with a comorbidity is no longer in doubt to me. And, you know, I think that they've been playing with the numbers the other way, and that's very hard for people to accept. And unfortunately, as grim as that is, why are we not talking about the real solutions? That's why I had Shiva on for a full hour today. Why are we not talking about massive intravenous vitamin C treatment for these people instead of putting them on a ventilator, which from my 3 sources, one in Brooklyn, one in Queens, one at Stony Brook, are telling me once you're put on a fucking vent, you have a 70 to 90% chance of dying. I don't like those odds. So I would much rather have the intravenous vitamin C, the hydrocortisone shots that go along with it, maybe the hydroxychloroquine, maybe other antivirals. There are treatments out there. But if we put ourselves into a corner where we treat this like what they are treating it, a pneumonia, putting you on a ventilator, these mass deaths are going to continue. And, you know, man, I don't want to be so grim, but we haven't even talked about the financial implications. You also can't print money out of fucking nowhere again and again and again and bail these things out. I mean, you look at Enterprise. It's kind of off topic, but not really. Let's talk about the economic impact of this. In this Zoom meeting, I had a guy who works at Hertz, and he's like, you know, it's the craziest thing. We had a fire on the lot, and it's basically all these cars are next to each other that never would have been, because usually they'd have 10, 15, 25 on a lot. Right now, they've got 45,000 cars, so that means sometimes there's 200, 300 on a lot. So one little accident leads to a big accident, and they're not renting those out. So of course they're going to go with the military. If the military says we need your Enterprise rent-a-van to go pick up bodies, I mean, that's some frightening shit. And the other thing is they're not taking people who die of cardiac arrest or any other thing, by the way, 18 years of age or older, to the hospital to try to revive you. You just get left there. And, you know, I mean, I go on and on about the misnomers and numbers, but I am telling people now, I am guaranteeing you, something is killing these people. All right? It is not a game. It is not a joke. It is not a hoax. The Film Your Hospital hoax is killing me because they don't understand. They're not talking to any nurses. And it would be very easy to find one. You know, these nurses, you know, they're staffed by the dozens and the hundreds in some of these hospitals. And many of them are fearing for their jobs. You know, you look at somebody like Dr. Siddell, who works in New York City and talked about how this is not ARDS. how this is not something where if we use the ventilators like we are, we're not going to cost lives. You know, he spoke out about that. It went viral. It was shortly after that video that my channel was demonetized, but people need to see this. And he's saying, listen, we need to treat this totally differently. And Arizona, New York City, again, very large place. Some people are using the vitamin C treatment. So, guys, I got to tell you, just like I've been saying, have a plan, be prepared. Nobody's ready for this. I'm not ready to fucking hang back in my house for 6 months. I don't think anybody else is. I'm not ready to lose people I love, but prepare. You know, have food for your family. Have a plan, you know, and know what your limits are. I don't know what else to say because, again, what's the mainstream solution to this? Everybody's going to be forced to be tested, and then everybody's supposed to take a vaccine? Like, if that's not medical tyranny, I, for one, know I'm not down with it. And I can only imagine how middle America feels. And I'll be also honest, you know, I'm in contact with my local law enforcement all the time. We see each other. And one of the very big concerns the sergeant here has, he's like, we're not going to go door to door. I'm not going to go door to door and enforce something like that. That's just not something that we're going to do. And I do believe there'll be a lot of law enforcement that goes against that. But at the same time, the fear is high right now. Anxiety is high. You already see panic. I don't know what the world holds, but I'll tell you what, the next 2 weeks are going to be far from Christmas, guys.
I think you're right on that. Thank you so much for that update and that recap. So I do want to transition to one of the first documents we're going to be looking at. Now, on our previous vigil on Tuesday, we had reality winner's mother, Billy Winner, on, and, as well as her sister, Brittany Winner. So if we could pull that up on the screen, that document, if we're able to do so.
It's happening.
Okay, so Steve is pulling that up for us. And Andrew, do
and
you
Jason, I just sent this to you too. This is the original set of documents that Reality Winner was found to have leaked to The Intercept back in I believe 2017.
Okay.
And so here's what's always just kind of tripped me out about these is that when you read them and you go through them, there is absolutely nothing in them that flat out proves there was any sort of quote unquote Russian interference. I want to start here right at the very first summary. And you can see who all they've CC'd in this, which includes every Five Eyes country. That's what that FBEI there is in the court, and the FISA courts. And the summary states that Russian General Staff Main Intelligence Directorate actors executed cyber espionage operations against a named U.S. company in August 2016. They don't name the company, evidently to obtain information on elections-related software and hardware solutions. The actors likely used data obtained from that operation to create new email account and launch a voter registration-themed spear phishing operation. So when you go down and you look at it, there's no there. Look at the language that's being used. Cyber threat actors executed a spear phishing campaign from the email address blah on 24th August, targeting victims that included employees of a U.S. company, according to information that became available in April 2017. This campaign appeared to be designed to obtain the end user's email credentials by enticing victims to click on an embedded link with a spoofed Google email alert. And their conclusion on this very first supposition: 3 of the malicious emails were rejected by the email server with the response message that the victim's addresses did not exist. What's your opinion on this?
I mean, number one, it seems like they did everything and anything to push that narrative that Russia was involved. Now, I don't think they were planning on pushing that narrative because they weren't planning on not being able to rig the election for Hillary Clinton. They thought with all their Diebold machines, they were going to be able to do it, and they almost did. I still, to this day, do not believe that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. I think if you went back there and you scrutinized it, it would be a whole different story. So I think you take somebody like Reality Winner, right, who probably, was doing illegal things and leaking stuff, and you kind of craft your own narrative around it, right? And you classify what you need to, and then you politicize it around Russia. It seems like they did that all the way around. I mean, if you look at even the figurehead of Mueller with the Mueller report, what was he? He was just a name. He was just a name to attach to Russia bad, Assange agent of Russia, crush. That's it. Once he was put on the stand, he was a babbling idiot. So to me, again, man, you want to talk about intelligence networks. This is something kind of I led with. But what you're really going to see right now is that you're going to see leaked reports of certain people warning everybody about this in November. All right? And they're going to be low-level, honest people in the FBI, in the CIA, in these sub-organizations. And they're going to have been briefings. And just like, when you saw like bin Laden imminent threat before 9/11, just like you saw Amalgam Virgo, yeah, Event 201 was visible, but you're going to see a lot more of that. And what people have to keep in mind is that I would say the predator class at the top always kind of knows what narrative is real and the one that they're crafting. And just like now, they're crafting basically a narrative, in my opinion, to try to put all the blame on Trump and his administration, when in fact his insiders were probably telling him there was no big deal. And people like Pompeo and Fauci, all those fucking guys knew, every single one of them.
I want to go back to the doc here for a second, because this next comment, and this underscores everything that we're talking about in terms of what happened to Reality Winner. It's really the tragedy of Reality Winner at this point, because it appears that she's serving the longest sentence out of any whistleblower that has ever been tried and convicted, simply for the potential of making the federal government look stupid. Quote, the actors were probably trying to obtain information associated with election-related hardware and software applications. It is unknown whether the aforementioned spear phishing deployment successfully compromised all the intended victims and what potential data from the victim could have been exfiltrated. However, based on subsequent targeting, it was likely that at least one account was compromised.
The part that really breaks my heart about Reality Winner's situation is the fact that, like, she did what she thought was right, like any other whistleblower would, at least from my perspective, at least. Where she found this information, she thought that it was relevant based on the story that was being spun in the media, released this information to show, hey, we do have something. Like, there is this thing that is out there that says Russia was trying to do something with our election. But because it didn't fit into the larger Russiagate narrative, because it didn't fit into they helped Donald Trump and was more just a generality about what, or potentially what wasn't happening with a Russian intelligence actor at that directorate, she gets completely destroyed. But then you see people like Eric Caramello Bar, as Jason so beautifully puts it, release information that shows not even any criminal misconduct or anything, but is just Trump bad, and he is protected by the largest institution. It's in halls of power where they aren't even allowed to say his name, and if we say it on YouTube, this video will get removed. So I think that a lot of it has to come down to, she believed in what she was doing because the media, the larger media institutions, were proliferating this propaganda, and it turns into her being in jail now for almost 1,040 days, 1,050 days because of that. And because she stepped forward herself to say, hey, we have this information that says something may or may not have happened, that someone may or may not have been compromised. And instead of having it just be objectively viewed, because at the time, The Intercept was also pushing back against Russiagate, Jimmy Dore, Kyle Kulinski, and a bunch of other people. And instead of having this document viewed through independent media in an objective manner, it was put out through The Intercept as a Russiagate is real, Trump is bad, and reality wasn't protected by the person that she entrusted this information to. Like, and to me, that's just the most heartbreaking part is she believed she was doing the right thing when this information came forward because of all of the propaganda, but it turned into her getting the largest sentence of any whistleblower.
Well, I agree. They use dupes all the time. I mean, that's kind of the game of the patsy, and then it plays into their narrative because this is someone that was supposed to expose that, and then you get to blame, Trump double hard when the conviction comes out. So, I agree with you, man. I think the bottom line is that so many people are so tuned out that let's take a look at, again, the current situation. Last week, there were people that believed their kids were going back to school this year. There are still some people that believe that in the country. Like they believe that. And I'm trying to tell everybody, hey man, we're on a pretty obvious script. All you need to do is actually listen to one of these full press conference and not spend 3 minutes with Rachel Maddow yapping her fucking teeth off and then some bit clips in between. All right? And especially when we talk about a situation where not only reality winner is put in that box, but that, I mean, Julian Assange, a non-citizen, is not only put into that box, but they have to literally make things up into putting him into a cyber terrorist. Like literally new laws that if you're not a hacker, if you didn't put the password in yourself, you're still the cyber terrorist. And then to take that language even further this year in that counterintelligence document. And now you're what? You're a leaktivist. You're a hacktivist. You're somebody who is an ideological person. And you're put in this, you're a public disclosure organization. Think about that. A public disclosure organization. If you took those 3 words and you put them in any free speech scenario in the last 300 plus years in any culture that spoke English, they would think that's journalism, not high treason.
And people don't even know that that is something that our government's doing. Like they don't even know that leaktivists, hacktivists, and public disclosure organizations are listed next to Al Qaeda now. And then what does that make our mainstream media? What does that make the people that we watch on YouTube? Like we're not putting them together, but are we going to see a time where Lee Camp, Jimmy Dore, and James Corbett are dragged out of their houses for publicly disclosing information while Rachel Maddow uncritically repeats talking points of the military-industrial complex? Because they're not.
As a guy from I believe it was the CDC on her show. I didn't see it. Whitney Webb was going off on it this morning when she was on the show. But Maddow's guest last night was talking about the need to go drag people out of their homes who may be sick with COVID-19. And this is why we need the app that will tell you, that will read your cough or read your breath and diagnose you via app, so that then either the military or the police can come to your house and drag you out and put you into a quarantine camp. And people that are watching that are going to go, oh, that's such a good idea. Like, her audience has just been programmed to never question the person on the opposite side of her desk. And they're going to go, oh, yeah, no, keep us safe. We need to do that. Meanwhile, the same people that have sat through and orchestrated and written all of these post-pandemic police state transition exercises are tied to the companies that are manufacturing not 1, but 4 different cures. Like, this really is the real-time prequel to V for Vendetta. It really is. I don't remember the movie or not, but everybody that was high up in the party that was being targeted by the guy V all had stock or all worked for the same pharmaceutical company that made a fuck ton of money by marketing the cure. That's what we're doing right now. That is exactly what's taking place.
Well, I think it goes, unfortunately, even beyond that. I think these guys are consolidating power in ways that we can't even imagine. at this point. Because again, you can't print money out of nowhere on this. And why aren't they pushing something like vitamin C, stem cells? Right now, they're also doing aerosolized nitric oxide. Now, I know everybody's like, oh, boner juice, but nitric oxide was kind of like the supplement that came out after creatine. I remember using it. And it's great because it gets your cardiovascular system going. It opens your vascular system. So instead of putting somebody, on a ventilator and giving them that chance where, it's 70 to 90% over, why not put them on a BiPAP or CPAP machine where that aerosolized NO2 is part of that oxygen? These are real treatments that they're actually doing that are not being publicized. And I think stem cells, again, they've never, ever promoted stem cells in this country, yet mesenchymal stem cells have been proven in studies to work against this. So if it doesn't have Johnson & Johnson's stamp of approval or Bill Gates' stamp of approval, it doesn't seem to be a solution that's being pushed by this establishment. And, it creeps me out that establishment of Johnson & Johnson, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, Johns Hopkins University, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Marriott Hotel System, the CDC in China, the CDC in the United States, ANZ Bank are all sitting at a table at fucking Davos in October 2019, wargaming for several hours a novel coronavirus outbreak from a pig that takes 65 million lives. I just want to say out of the gates, fuck you guys. No one elected you. No one asked your fucking opinions. And the fact that we have put power into what the World Health Organization is saying when they stand by China, who says they only had 3,000 fucking deaths, is disgusting. It's fucking disgusting. Sorry.
No, you're
no.
fine.
I was trying to agree with you. I had muted myself. No, you couldn't be more right about that. We're every time there's a crisis, be it financial or health or natural disaster, it's a way for the predator class to further consolidate their wealth. And we're now seeing not only a financial and economic disaster, but a health disaster. And almost every summer for the last 10 years has been hotter than the one before that. We're going to have a very hot summer full of angry, unemployed, hungry people.
A hot summer? Fucking Tony Fauci, that fucking un-American, unhuman, transhuman piece of shit, is saying, I don't think we should ever shake hands ever again. What kind of an Orwellian nightmare would I be living in where I'm not allowed to be a human being? Guys, I'm going on right now probably about a month and a half without my ability to go to a fucking local bar, get a beer, and talk to an attractive young lady from less than 6 feet away. What in the world do they think more and more people are going to do over the next few weeks and months if they keep this lockdown going? I feel like this is... Go ahead,
the
Andrew.
entire thing.
What's that?
I think this entire thing is designed to create civil unrest and to piss people off at this point, because not even with the $4.2 trillion bailout that they gave to the biggest banks, but like today, the governor of Ohio, Mike DeWine, was giving a press conference, and someone asked him, well, why have you guys taken any steps to improve the unemployment system so more people can file, and more people can get through, and more people can actually start receiving this money? And he stands there like a deer in headlights for a good 10 or 15 seconds, and he goes, I'm going to defer the question to this guy, but first, I just want to let you know that we're trying to hire people to take a look at it right now. And then passes the question off to some guy that literally dances for the next 2.5 minutes and says, no, we'll get the money to people that need the money for applying for unemployment. You just have to be patient while we get it working. And then just cuts to the next question. Like they're trying, because this was actually part of the script that was in, I don't think it was in Event 201 as much, but it was in Dark Winter and others, where they talk about the civil unrest, and especially Lockstep, about essentially manufacturing it in a specific direction to be able to respond to it in a specific way. And that's the problem reaction solution that we all know so well in the sphere of truth tellers, where they try to make a specific policy passed or get a specific thing instituted. So they create a specific issue to get a specific response so they can bring that policy into play. And the best example is 9/11 and the Patriot Act, because that was written in the late 90s by Joe Biden and others. The towers come down, and then people are terrified and want some response. So the Patriot Act gets on there, and then the people are still pissed. So we get to go into two wars, and then years later, we now have to take our shoes off at an airport because of that. And that's one of those long-term things that people never even thought would happen.
And
So
scan,
the-
hold on, and scanned by radiation. You know what I mean? And now let's take it to the next step. You think that the biometrics that they've implemented in Florida and other places where they're doing the face scans won't be mandatory after this? Especially if they get their little way with the vaccines, or you had the antibody or whatever little thing they said. I just want to go back to how important this is. But again, people need to read this document. Above me, here it is. It says other state adversaries such as Cuba, Iran, and North Korea. Iran, who we have the most inhumane sanctions against right now during this crisis, by the way. Non-state actors such as Lebanese Hezbollah, ISIS, and Al-Qaeda, as well as transnational criminal organizations. Meanwhile, by the way, in New York, guys, joke's on them. They just made money laundering for terrorism a bailable offense. And since we have zero bail, you can just walk away. Anyway, so whatever, transnational criminal organizations. And ideologically motivated entities, my favorite, such as hacktivists, leaktivists, and again, that three-letter word, public disclosure organizations, also pose significant threats. We live in 1984 in 2020, gentlemen.
Yeah, I believe I said it when you were on the day that you got demonetized and I had you on my show. But Orwell really undersold us. He really did. We already have the drones flying over parks in New York City telling people to maintain social distancing. And thank you for your cooperation. And this is for your safety. We know that the Chula Vista Police Department bought drones for the exact same purposes. We are, thanks to Peter Thiel and Palantir, now have apps in several different countries that literally read your biometrics and tell you whether or not you're sick. And Elizabeth Mueller is in my chat right now, and she just posited that international trade deals are going to be a consequence of the end result of the COVID lockdown. And if you remember, the TPP would allow corporations to sue governments if the governments passed regulations that cut into their profits. You remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Remember that little tidbit?
Yeah, I do. And remember, we're talking about just national interests at this point. We're not talking about national security. We're not talking about the interests of the United States of America, the Constitution, the people. And that's one of the things that was really disturbing to me again and again in that Event 201 exercise, is there wasn't a damn one of them up there that was shy about the fact they didn't give a fuck about the individual. They weren't worried about grandma, grandpa, little Timmy, Joey, mommy, daddy, anybody, except for their profits and keeping the business chains moving and making sure that the World Bank was invested in the infrastructure of the nations that were affected most. They were worried about that. That's something they were worried about. So they want more powerful for global government. I think they're going to try to get it. I think they're going to try to roll out a vaccine. Again, guys, I don't even want to tell you what I think is going to happen by the next time we talk. I think by the next time we talk, unfortunately, they're going to be rolling out 1,500 to 2,000 bodies a day from New York State, no problem, maybe even the city alone. And when it starts hitting other towns, and it is middle America, when it starts to get away from the East Coast a little more, and I believe it will, and the lockdown doesn't end May 1st, and it doesn't end June 1st, even before May 1st. I think by the end of this month, there's going to be some kind of a panic that we can't that I can't predict, and I don't like that prediction. That literally I can't predict what kind of panic may ensue by the 25th, 26th, maybe at the latest just before May 1st. I don't know, but I can tell you right now that we're going to be in a very different world than we are now, 2 weeks from now. And we're already in a very different world than when I was sitting there hanging out with you guys for the first time. Thank God I got that experience out just a little over a month ago, you know?
Yeah, I was.
And
I just looked down the corner of my computer at the day. It was like 5.5 weeks ago that we were sitting at a restaurant making fun of feminist baby. Like it was just.
Yes.
Which, by the way, feminist baby is hilarious. If you're ever at a bookshop, and if we're ever allowed to go to a bookshop again, and you happen upon a book called Feminist Baby, I want you to read it and think fondly of me and Jason sitting at the end of this bar, cracking up over it. That was a beautiful moment.
And anybody who thinks that it was this one right here, I believe, but there was a couple feminist babies. This was the he's a feminist too. And I wish we were making this up, but that's the kind of thing that you get in a DC coffee shop, folks. It's not Oklahoma, I'll tell you that.
They had plush Ruth Bader Ginsburg dolls at the same bar that had a mural with Angela Davis on it.
Yeah.
It was the weirdest fucking thing.
And dedication to the Guantanamo Bay employee or the Guantanamo Bay prisoners on their windows.
Yeah, it was a
employees
hodgepodge
not
of awesome and not.
where we found that information out about. But to transition a little bit back to the topic on hand, there was a friend of the show, Mo, released a Sputnik article yesterday going over the recent case with Julian and how the defense is basically now having to appeal something that I think most people will find disgusting. Judge Vanessa Baracer previously ruled that the identity of Julian Assange's partner, who wouldn't be anonymized since she was filed as in the witness statement in support of the WikiLeaks founder's emergency bail application on March 25th. That decision is now due to be appealed. Basically, a week ago, Julian Assange, his attorneys filed for a bail application, trying to get him out amidst the COVID-19 epidemic. The Vanessa Baracer said the epidemic is not bad enough, essentially, that there's not enough going on, and that she was going to defer to the National Health Institute for any rulings on prisoners. And later on, right, this came out, I believe it was Tuesday when all of this took place, this next hearing, that now the court is trying to release the names of Julian Assange's partner as well as his children for the media to then do what they please with.
My God.
And I'm a free speech absolutist. Like, I don't think that this should even really be argued in court, essentially, but also privacy and the anonymity of an individual is very important. But what they're doing in court now is literally holding the name of Julian's children and his partner over their heads and saying, hey, you guys tried to get this bail application in the middle of a pandemic, so now we're putting her name out there. So it's ludicrous. It's absolutely insane that the court has the power to literally dangle this person above the defense. And they are appealing this decision to release it. But I believe that on the 24th, if their appeal gets denied or isn't even heard, that they will just allow this and release this information into the public record of the court system.
So the way that it's going to roll out is the hearing was on the 7th. When Julian's defense said, well, no, we're going to file an appeal, that appeal process is supposed to take 14 days. Vanessa Baracer said you get 7. So on the 14th of April, they will have to submit it and a ruling will be made. Now, when I talked to Mo earlier this morning, he did say that Vanessa Baraster will not be the magistrate that makes this ruling. The appeal is going to a different judge in a higher court. So it's possible that the judge will be a little less, more openly pro State Department than Vanessa Baraster. But the fact that we even have to talk about this is just, it's disgusting. And Mo's point, when I was like, well, obviously his partner and children are going to be, subject to targeted harassing. Mo's point was the State Department already knows who she is. The intelligence communities already know who she is. The British government, their police, their intelligence agencies, they already know who she is. They already know who the children's names are. The only way that they would come under more harassment than they already have is if a random citizen took it on himself to violate a lockdown order to go and harass them. I was like, well, don't you want to stop that?
and stop that. First of all, maybe, but it wouldn't just be a random citizen. There could be journalists that want to make a name for themselves. Let's be honest. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Even people that are pro Julian Assange may want to get at least his partner's insight, right? That would definitely be a possibility. But then you have those gotcha journalists that want, tell us about how your husband or whatever is a Russian agent. So, you have that moment as well. I would think at least the children deserve anonymity. And any argument otherwise is crazy to me. Children should have the right to remain anonymous if they like before they're 18, until they're 18.
And I don't believe that children have the same protections that children do here in the UK. I don't know, because here you at least have to obtain consent to report a minor's name, especially if they're involved in any sort of legal process. But I don't think that the same rule applies in the UK. So these kids would be fair game.
That's insanity to me. That is total insanity. Gentlemen, I'm going to call it a
real
night.
quick, before you leave, because there's a follow-up to this.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So Craig Murray, and you'll find this fucking awesome if you can get this pulled up, the craigmurray.org article, Josh. Craig Murray actually is a wonderful investigative journalist, and he had a video that he was sitting on that no one knew about. And it is of Vanessa Baraster in high school doing a sing-along, or in like a high school play. If you are a meme artist, if you are a comedian, if you are someone that enjoys satire, Mrs. Assange asked for people to transform this video. So if you could play that for us, Josh, that would be awesome, because this is something that I personally think is kind of funny that it came out this way and in this mode, and that, quite frankly, this is one of the only things about Vanessa Baraster's life that the entire world knows at this point, is this video.
I got it for you.
Okay.
Wait, am I wrong on this? Is this
like no business I know?
Or is this real?
It's real.
Everything about it is appealing. Everything that traffic will allow. Nowhere could you get that happy
Wow, that is real.
when you are stealing that
Singing
extra
Ethel
mile.
Merman.
There's no
What the
people
fuck?
like show people, they smile.
Well, that is a bizarre way to exit my show, gentlemen. I'm not gonna lie.
I knew you would enjoy that, so I wanted to share that with you. If anyone out there has wonderful video editing skills or terrible video editing skills, please have fun with that video, proliferate it, because at this point, it's one of the only ways that we have to show her how revealing information about someone's personal life can be embarrassing and damaging when it has no business even being in the public spectrum. And this is something that Miss Assange has asked comedians to pick up personally. So I really hope that there's people out there that will heed this call to action.
All right, brother. And guys, Action for Assange, the number 4, is the website. And obviously, you guys know they do great work. All right, guys. Hopefully, I'll see you next week. All right?
Absolutely.
Jay.
All right, later on, guys. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for me this evening. Remember, thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. Please consider hitting the GoFundMe. This is how I'm doing it. Again, they've completely demonetized me. I'm doing my best to cover other topics on top of what's going on with COVID-1984, but it's so hard out there. I love you guys. And remember, on Tuesdays, sign up for free at rockfin.com, ROKFIN.com. And on Tuesdays at noon, this one was free. I left it free over 48 hours. There's still other free stuff that you can watch over there, including this one, which is an exclusive. This Madonna video, totally exclusive. Just make an account. And then for the premium stuff, it's $9.99 a month, but you get a bunch of other great creators. It's like a Netflix for creators. And again, it also has a live stream. So the live stream is free Tuesdays at noon. All right, so make sure you sign up and follow me over there. I love you guys, and I'll see you on the flip.